A very good evening and a warm welcome to today's bootcamp on Build Your Own Virtual Agent using Natural Language Processing. I am Shmita Ramkumar and I'm the Director for Community and Partnerships with OpenWeaver. OpenWeaver is a SaaS technology company supporting over 1 million developers build their ideas faster by reusing open source software. Our vision is to reinvent digital realization. Simply put, improve the way applications are built. By investing in a unique combination of public domain knowledge and artificial intelligence, OpenWeaver is delivering smarter ways to build the digital world of tomorrow. Today's bootcamp is an integral part of our OpenWeaver community initiatives. The OpenWeaver community is a body of like-minded technology enthusiasts and open source contributors who have come together with the vision of contributing to the world of open source and sharing how complex use cases can be developed by reusing open source. Over the last few weeks, we have run several such open source development bootcamps on a variety of topics, such as building your own AR-powered e-commerce website, fake news detection, basics of Python programming, building an AI model for breast cancer prediction, and many more to come. So today's bootcamp on Build Your Own Virtual Agent using NLP will cover the basics of NLP while focusing on a specific use case created for building your own virtual agent. Through today's bootcamp, you will realize that technology doesn't need to be complex and indeed doesn't have to be developed in silos. You will see how you can take a solution that is pre-built, in fact, pre-built by many people in the world, and you can then build on top of it and share it or put it back such that your solution can now be accessible to many other people who can further build on top of your ideas, thereby accelerating the virtuous cycle of innovation and helping you scale your ideas and solutions significantly faster. You will also hear from our developer enthusiasts who on how they are using open source in their development these days. So with that brief introduction of today's session, I would now like to welcome our mentor for the session, Pooja Agarwal, who is a senior developer advocate with OpenWeaver. A very warm
Hi,
welcome to you, Pooja. Hello, and thank you so much for putting together and curating this session on building your own virtual agent. I understand we have a very interesting session coming up, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
thank you. Thank you so much, Smita. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session today on building your own virtual agent. And let's get started. So, to start off for today's session, we will be putting it up into two parts, splitting it up into two parts. Precisely the first part where we will discuss the concepts like artificial intelligence and NLP, and then also discussing how open source can help you build your virtual agent. The second part would primarily focus on the kit that we've curated for you through the weeks so that you can use it to more, as per your convenience, modify it, change things in it, and, accordingly go ahead and maybe deploy it for certain application. So before we head on to the conceptual part or the first part of the section, what I would like you to do is I would like to take you and give you a heads up on the kit installation. So we'll just share my screen. So for the kit installation, you just have to go into the description of this section or the session that you are viewing currently. In the description, you will be able to find the one click kit for the virtual agent here. So let's just go ahead and click on this link. You will be able to just in case with the one click kit you should be able to reach the virtual agent example kit. In case you guys are not able to navigate to it, Sandhya, maybe you can share that link in the chat. So this kit has a one click installation option, so you quickly the moment you click on it, you will be able to install a zip file. unzip the file. You will find a batch file. You may scan this file even before installing it on your PC to check whether it is of any risk to your system or not. And then you can simply say run anyway. Your installation with different dependencies for the virtual agent will begin here, and you can minimize and continue listening to the session alongside with me. So, in case you would be wondering what this page is all about, it has your kit with the instructions listed, how you have to follow through. Those who are not doing the session alongside and maybe listening on their mobile or tabs currently, they may want to do the installation afterwards. So, it also has the solution code directly present on this one page, as well as the different development environments that you can use, and the library is also listed depending on the data analysis that you're trying to do or the text mining that we will perform for today's building this virtual agent. Then you can also look into the libraries we've utilized, and also in case you are looking forward to build up your uh, UI or web development framework against this virtual agent. So we'll quickly move back into our conceptual session. I hope you guys have followed through and are able to get into the kit installation. So my idea is that you should be able to get alongside as I'll discuss the kit with you guys. Okay. So as we discuss about artificial intelligence, I quickly want to take you back to the history from where it all started. So John McCarthy, who's also known as the father of artificial intelligence, he, in a conference at the Dartmouth School research project, along with a couple of his friends, introduced this first program, or I would say the first artificial intelligence program named as Logic Theorist. This Logic Theorist basically worked based on a rule engine. So a rule engine is where a certain rule, when applied, a certain task is performed. And somehow this relates to the IVRS systems that you already function with and sort of get a little irritated, right? If you remember calling, especially for your banking applications where you have to press one, press two, and somewhere you're trying to figure out how you can quickly get into the, a customer executive picking up your, you know, picking up the call and answering your questions and queries, right? So basically, Logic Theorist was the first basic program. It was introduced in the 1950s. However, after the 1950s, in 1960s to 70s, not much moved in artificial intelligence. There was a gray winter that had to be seen, and there were several reasons behind it. Like not much of the invention happened in the learning techniques, not much of the hardware was competent enough to run heavy machine learning softwares. So in the 1980s, we saw a great boom in artificial intelligence, and the reason was that there was the introduction of different learning techniques, and these techniques sort of again had to see a setback in the 80s to 90s, because not the hardware expected was present, right? If you see today, our own personal systems have 4 to 8 GBs to 12 GBs to even 16 GBs of RAM, depending on the customization or the system configuration that you've chosen. Later back then, there were some specialized systems which would had hardware as good as this. So came now was the year 2010 to present. I mean, in 1990s to 2000s as well, we saw a good success in the field of AI. Again, the reason was the changes in the technological, or I would say the hardware that was present sort of started improving. And from 2000s to now, we see a great boom in artificial intelligence. All of us are already using various cutting edge technology into our daily lives, and that's how it is. So let's try and understand it from a developer's perspective, that how you can also segregate it into two components. One is the rule engine that I talked about, which your IVRS system was based on. While pressing this button and a certain task gets done. But Now we are looking forward to more of machine learning, or deep learning sort of techniques, where based on your supervised and unsupervised mode. So let us try on also discuss about these learning techniques. If I say a certain technique is a supervised technique, what exactly that means? A supervised technique is when you are able to provide the machine with a labeled output, right? I have my input data, and along with my input data, I'm also telling the machine that this is what as an output I am expecting. Also, when we talk about the unsupervised mode of learning or technique, basically there your machine is just fed with some input data, and machine tries to uh, separate similar data points into different sections or classes. So basically here you are not providing the machine with the expected output. It can be relatable to the example of a child who in the childhood has to be guided and supervised by his parents, elders, or teachers to perform a certain task. And the unsupervised mode is likewise of an adult, where we take our own decisions based on our experiences or whatever model we are using for unsupervised mode of learning. So your clustering, etc., come into the unsupervised mode of category. So, what are the different fields of AI? If you try to put down into three fields, so one would be natural language processing, that we are concerned and would be talking about today. And of that part, we are taking the conversational agents use case today, where we want to build up agents which are more humanized, or I would say more human-like, and they are able to struck up a conversation where we don't feel we are talking to a robot who's not able to answer to our questions as per our requirements. Then the second category is computer vision. In the computer vision category, you have your self-driving cars, you have object detection, image tracking, you have anomaly detection, as so many different use cases, which where you try and apply the vision to the machine, where you want the machine to be able to uh, see within an image. The different use cases built on the computer vision techniques. The third is your speech recognition and generation. So talking about the speech generation and recognition, you have your Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, and Cortana and whatnot, right? All these agents you have already been using by now. So you call your Google Assistant, it does perform a certain search, or it sets up an alarm for you depending on whatever task you want to ask your Siri or Google Assistant to do. You're already doing it on your mobile phones. So it's one of the use cases of artificial intelligence itself. So virtual agents, why should they interest you? The reason being, these are not just regular rule engine based chatbots that we are proposing here. Basically, these are inbuilt with some cognition. They are better than, in terms of availability. They are 24/7 available. If you compare it with humans, they have a quick turnaround. They are instantly available to respond to your queries, and then the chances of error are up to negligible. You may not encounter an error when you work around these virtual agents. And then these are a very inexpensive affair. We do not need, virtual agents like they don't need to be expensive for us, right? Or else we won't be able to utilize them every now and then. So yes, once you have set them up to your platform or website, you are free to go. You just have to make some improvisations depending on your customer base requirements, etc. So moving on to the part where how do you build up such a bot or agent today? So we want to first start, how does the exact pipeline or the machine learning helps us in this. The step one is you give a input, you provide some data set, use it to train your machine learning model. Your model learns from it, and then we say that we have built up a logical model, and that logical model is tested against a new data. That logical model is tested against new fresh data to see what is the output that it is providing. So this is the pipeline, or I would say this is the process that we would follow to build up our own bot today, or I would say chatbot today. So step one, your data set, your knowledge base. What all can we use as a knowledge base for our virtual agent? You can use FAQ articles, which are your frequently asked questions that you may want that your bot should respond to on your platform. So we'll be taking this as our data set for today. You may use couple of documents, maybe documents in relation to uh, multiple queries, or if you're talking about a banking bot that you're trying to build, just like an hdfc eva, they must have required multiple documents where they have listed down what should be done when there a query for a credit card comes, what should be done, what are the steps that should be, the bot should ask the person to go through when they are asking about their bank account statement, etc., and much more details likewise. And then you have conversations. You can use these conversations as also your training data for your virtual agent. So let's get to the training part. Let's try and understand how do we start building our model. By the first step, after we have the data sets fixed in our minds, let's start with the training. So your training will want you to first provide a data source. Okay, that's decided. Once you decide the data source, you need to check your data source, you need to analyze it, you need to understand the different columns and exactly the features that you would want to pass into your machine or the model that you are trying to train for building up your virtual agent. So that you do using your NumPy and Pandas, the most popular libraries, and you may also use certain different libraries as well. After you have analyzed and figured that out, you then pass it through a pre-processing pipeline. So this pre-processing pipeline is the most essential component when you are training your model with a data set. You need to clean any irrelevant data that is present. You need to remove any noise. So when we talk about natural language processing, we talk about relevant steps of removing the stop words, removing the punctuations, digits. You check for any hashtags, any css, etc., etc. So all that pre-processing, all that extra removal happens here in this step. Further, we pass your the process data against a sentence transformer. So this sentence transformer is responsible for converting your input data into embeddings. These embeddings are your mathematical vectors. These are done, I mean, this step is followed so that your machine is able to clearly understand what sort of data it is dealing with and is able to have these vectors stored into the embedding storage. I mean, with the the training completes by following these steps. You first figure out your data set, you work on analyzing the features that you would like to select from your data set. Next step is processing your data before passing it through your sentence transformer model, which has a pre-trained model for conversion into embeddings, which is your mathematical form, which is a machine understandable form. You do that conversion, you store these embeddings, and with this your training phase gets completed. Now you move to the testing part. In the testing part, I now want to check my model is built. Now I want to check how well my model is responding. So for that, what you do, you basically ask for a test query from the user. Okay, so your user will provide a test query. That test query will also be pre-processed for anything which is irrelevant. Could be digits, could be question marks, could be any sort of thing that we process as a noise in the NLP pipeline. So we will do the pre-processing at this stage. After that, we pass it into the sentence transformer again, so that a vectored form or a computed embedding form is generated for the user query. And parallelly, what you want to do, you need to fetch your stored embeddings. If you can see on the top, you need to fetch your stored embeddings for the questions that were already uh, that for which the embeddings were already calculated. Now, with the computed embedding for the user query and the ones which were already stored, we do a lookup, right? We try to check, and based on the similarity engine, we see which is the which is the closest query, I mean, to the user query, and then you are able to fetch based on the one which has the most similar, uh, I would say, which has the least distance, or which has the most similar query. That would be I mean, an index for that would be generated, and an answer against that query will be provided to the user. So that's how your testing completes, or that's how you are able to check whether your model is correctly trained, or I mean how well it is performing. So this we are also going to see when we would demo your entire code set that we have developed in the VA kit. So now let's talk about the development part. So how have we built it? We basically used open source tools here, and the reason for us to use open source and not closed source is, if you try to compare these two types, you understand that open source tools are easily accessible and are available to anyone for free. They are easily modifiable, they can be redistributed, right? You can give it back to the entire community. That's how we are able to have so many repos and libraries that are quickly developed nowadays. And with the help of these different libraries and repos, there has been a great innovation in fields such as AI, blockchain, AR, and meta. Maybe I can say that you see Web3 and so many different terminologies being floated here and then. Again, the concept is that we are able to reuse it, we are able to save our time and just focus on the key development or the key application that we are trying to provide to the real world, right? So, and we get a good community support from thousands of people or developers who are contributing to this open source community. So if you see platforms like your TensorFlow, PyTorch, or if I talk about your Pickle, etc., or different libraries that have been just provided, Python as a whole programming language. This innovation has been possible because of the open source nature of so many different libraries, repos, or tools that have been quickly being circulated, provided to all of us for use and reuse. However, there is an interesting fact check that you may want to have a look around. Even with many codes that are written as proprietary, may contain many open source libraries. So 90% of the world's code contains open source. That's an interesting fact that I came across. So I thought of inputting it here. Let's talk about the key considerations for open source. Once I believe, if I've been able to make you understand the importance of these open source, which are going to be our key development tools coming ahead, we also want to look as developers. What should I look for before I start using these different available APIs, etc., on the open source community or Kandi? So I need to look for some support, that without which I won't be able to go ahead in case I find that I want to do some changes in the available open source library. So I need to look what kind of support that particular library has. I also need to look for any vulnerabilities or bugs present in it from the security perspective. In case we chose a library which isn't having a good amount of security associated to it, or I would say it isn't backed with a great secure code, then we won't be able to provide the amount of quality that we wish to deliver from our application. So quality would somehow be dependent on support and security overall, and all these three metrics, along with another fourth metric, which is your license agreement, should be taken into consideration as developers of today. As you grow and as you move ahead, and if you want to build up an application for commercial development, you need to understand the importance of how well you understand that a certain repo has a permissive or a copyleft, or a strong copyleft or a weak copyleft sort of a license. So permissive is where you are free to modify. There is the minimal restriction. I mean, there's no restriction, to be honest, when you are using a permissive repo or library. But with a weak copy left, you may want to depending on the license agreement, like if it's a weak copy left, you may have to deliver, I would say, whatever derivative you have derived from that repo, you may have to redistribute it for the to the entire community with the same copyleft license agreement. So these are the key things that you can look on the Kandi platform, and that's how you can quickly start developing things with this key considerations that you can keep in mind while you are developing. So let's now move into our virtual agent build up. Let's go and start developing our kit. Not the kit, but let's understand how the kit functions. So I'll have to quickly share and get back to where we left. So once you are done, okay, yeah. So once you are done installing up to 100%, we just have to head into the kit by pressing the yes. This Jupyter notebook will open, and we have listed different instructions for you so that you are comfortably able to navigate through this kit and understand what we are trying to do here. However, I'll try to take you through each cell individually. I'll just clear all the output that may have been present previously. Also say run all. Yeah, so we'll go cell by cell. So the first cell, we are basically putting your data set into a variable called data source path, right? In the first cell, we are doing that. Then what we are doing is we are providing the path for our model. We want to store the trained model, the sentence transformer, the model that we are building. We want to store it, so we are giving the path for that. Next step is we are importing all the essential libraries. So here we have NumPy and Pandas, which we will use for data analysis. Then we will have your text mining libraries. So linguistics is the library we are using to do the pre-processing or removing all those extra, punctuation stop words, your text hero for removing the digits. Further, we have your sentence transformer. So this sentence transformer library is the state of art framework that we want to use to do the vectorization or for creating your embeddings. Then we have your cosine similarity, which is used to calculate the similarity between two vectors. So we are fetching it from torch.nn neural network and also importing your torch library. Then we have pickle, which is again used for storage of your model. So we have imported that. So in the next cell, what we are doing here, we have read our data set since we had put it into this data source path, and we've just ignored some encoding errors here, stored it into a data frame. Then we've set up their options so that we are able to see the maximum column width here. If you see, the visuality of your data set is far better here, and you're able to see what I have put in the data set. So basically, it's a normal CSV comma separated data set where we have put up some frequently asked questions on this product called Kandi, what Kandi is, and etc. So all that is put up here. I can also show you the available data set. So this is how it looks in the Excel, and you just need two columns where you have one column for the questions, another one for the answers, right? And we are using this to train our model. So we are using this to train our model and build up a virtual agent above it. So now we have two columns currently, if you see, a Q column and an A column. And then what we are doing to these, we basically are starting to work on our question column. We remove the digits, we remove the punctuations, right? And then we store it into another column or data frame, which we are calling the processed queue, right? We are just calling it a processed queue column. So if you see, this is the processed queue column here, which is your third column. It no longer has any question marks, anything that could be of noise, all that needs to be removed here. So this is the pre-processing that we were talking about, that's done. Then further we load our sentence transform model. So you basically call out the sentence transformer and you use the default model, which is your paraphrase mini LM L6V2. You're using that here to build up or basically call out the model here. We are loading the model into the variable model. After that, I'm encoding the model over this processed queue column, the one where we had removed all the unnecessary noise. We are encoding it and storing it in the form of embeddings into a variable called q_embeds. And with this, we are just storing this created model, your q_embeds, into a file. So for that, we are using the pickle.dump. So up till this 11th cell, you are able to complete all the training part of your virtual agent. Now comes the testing part. In the testing part, we basically load your embeddings, right? First, we need to load the embeddings. So for that, we have again used pickle.load and loaded this file into q_embeds there and then. After that, I'll talk about this method, but first we need a user query. So we just took a user underscore query as a variable, passed it into this pred underscore method, and then it is fetched here, right? It's fetched here. Let's get into the body of this method to understand what's happening. So basically, you are reading your user underscore query into a data frame and storing it into df underscore query. After that, you are following the same steps that you had followed for training your model. You are removing any digits, you are removing any punctuations if they are present, and then storing it into another column called clean user query, or I would say clean underscore usr underscore q. Then we are using this. So this is our processed column. On this, now we want to use the encoding, or I would say now we want to compute the embedding for this user query. So we just call out the model.encode and store the embedding into user underscore q underscore embeds. Then we call out our cosine similarity, right? So this cosine similarity will help us do the comparison. You see, we've called your numpy.argmax, which is used for your data analysis, or I would say scientific computations that we are trying to do here. And we have compared your user q underscore embeds. This is the query that was asked for testing, and these are the stored embeddings, all those stored embeddings, right? So we compare these two and try to evaluate, compute the question which is most similar to the user query, and that index is fetched here, and that index is then the item for that particular index for which it matches this user query from the stored q underscore embeds. We pop it out here, or I would say we try to extract it here from the answers column. We want to return the answers column based on the matched uh, this user query embedding matching to the stored embeddings. That's done, and here we see a simulation. So you see there is an answer to this which we get, like tell me about kandi. It has given kandi is pronounced at. So based on your data set itself, what is kandi? It has tell me about kandi. It is a similar query, so it has fetched this answer, the topmost answer for it. So this is a simple while loop where we've tried to show you through a simulation how your chatbot works. So let us ask a query to the chatbot. Let us ask it something like, how can I use, or I would say, what are the different components? What are different components present in kandi? Let's ask that. If you see, it's giving me some answer. Kandi helps you select software components. So what are the components? We can have packages across from all managers and repositories. You can have source code, whatever we had put in as a answer. But this won't be exactly the question that is present, right? So basically, the NLP is applied here, and your computed embeddings are mapped with the available ones in the queue column, or I would say the processed queue column. Let us just quickly test with another query. How can I use kandi? And what I can do here is I can add some digits, something which is of not relevance, so we don't get an error. What it tries to do, we see that it has given me how I can use. It has two simplified experiences, so it is giving me a search option and an explore option. So these are the two options that you can use and try and experiment with this kandi software. So that is how you can create one for your own website and try and experiment and see how well how well you can make this virtual agent susceptible and comfortable to be used into your own platforms. You can create a better UI, stick with it, and maybe deploy it exactly how it is for your uh, if you are in college, as a college project, or elsewhere, wherever it's beneficial for you. So I think with this, I would like to wrap up my session on this virtual agent for now. You can post your queries in the comments, and I guess we will take your queries one by one accordingly. Okay, so hi Shmita.
Hey, thank you so much, Pooja. Thank you for taking us through the basics and the overview of NLP and for giving us a in-depth understanding of how this kit works.
Absolutely.
So for our participants today, do take a look at some of these one-click kits that have been developed by young and senior developers on topics that are very relevant in today's world, just like the one you saw. But you can also try some of these kits, and not just kits. The open source software can help young developers even try some very simple concepts that you may learn in your classrooms or you may come across otherwise. So, talking about young developer enthusiasts, we have today with us two developer enthusiasts who have been waiting to join us, and I'd like to welcome them. So, good evening and welcome, Akshara and Balaji. Thank you for joining the 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗴 community and for supporting the efforts in shaping the future of open source. So, before we get started, why it would be nice for you to please introduce yourselves and give our viewers today a little bit of an understanding of who you are and what your interests are.
Sure, Smita. Thank you, Pooja. That was a really good session on virtual agent. This bootcamp gave me an interest to work on virtual agent, which boosted up my interest on that field particularly. Shortly, I would like to introduce myself. Good evening, people. Myself, 𝗍𝗵 Balaji, currently doing my BTech third year ECE. My areas of interest are ethical hacking based on AI and ML, which is my most interested field. Uh, now I request Akshara to introduce herself.
Good evening, developers. Hope everyone are fine. Myself, Akshara from VIT Chennai. I'm pursuing my third year BTech in the branch of Computer Science Engineering with Cyber Physical Systems. My interest thrives upon the field of AI and data analysis. I was introduced to Kandi through a hackathon that was conducted a few months ago.
Lovely. Akshara, can you tell us a little more about the hackathon, please? And I understand you even worked on a use case, and I think your team won. So, can you tell us a little more about what your use case was?
Yeah, sure. The hackathon was in the domain of sustainable development. Under the wider section of sustainable development, we took the arena of energy conservation. We were provided the dataset and we had to display the dataset as a dashboard where the users can compare any entity against the other. We deployed our solution using the 𝗨𝗨 library, which was present in Python, which provides a dashboard framework for viewing different entities and to compare them as well. We finally uploaded our kit into the kandi platform so that it can be made handy for everyone.
Lovely. And just for everyone who's watching us today and our participants, I think you must have seen Akshara and Balaji in our previous boot camp as well, where they had created a kit based on some concepts that you were learning. And maybe you can do a very quick recap of that, and then also share with everybody what you have prepared for us today. And this I think goes to explain what we were saying earlier, that it's not just about the kits, which is for complex use cases, but using open source software, you can even experiment with very simple concepts and look at repos and libraries that can support your learning process through those concepts. Um, so yes.
Yes, yes, Smita. As I mentioned, our first boot camp was on the topic AI fake news detection. As a beginner, we found it interesting to go through the different libraries present under Kandi and learn about their significance in machine learning and NLP. We made the kit developer friendly by integrating libraries that are of most importance.
And today we have come up with some interesting deployments for the kit. Firstly, I would like to drive you all into the kit that I have created. After a detailed study on virtual assistant, I have classified the kit into three major categories based on the medium of interaction. The kit is developed with libraries that are the need of the hour for most of the AI developers. So this is my kit on virtual agent. So virtual agents are those that are made up of programmed rules and conversational intelligence. As I said, I have prepared them based on the medium of interaction, that is either voice or either chat or any other interactive medium. Some of the benefits of virtual agents are it is always consistent and improves the efficiency. It responds very quickly and provides the self service for the customers. It improves the customer support by providing 24 by 7 support, and it improves the satisfaction as well. So the working of the virtual agents, as Pooja had mentioned, the keywords. So it uses natural language processing for the working of the virtual agents. The tutorial on the implementation of the virtual agent can be seen here through the YouTube link. So the types of virtual agent that I have classified are on three types, that is voice, chat, and the interactive mode. So in the voice chat, I have put in few libraries that are mostly used in Telegram that are put for that gives audio input and ensures that the music is played. So some of the libraries that are included are Telegram VC bot, Video Player bot, VCPB bot, VC's Music bot, etc. Rasa Core is one of the bots where it takes both text and voice command for playing or for performing any operations. Next, moving on to the chatbots, I have classified the chatbots based on the medium of interaction, that is through chat. So Chatterbot is one of the most important library, so which is useful for making different chatbots. Other chatbots includes OPS Droid, Brutal, which is made by Netflix and Cathy. Next, moving on to the interactive bots. So here, these are the interactive bots that are used for many of the social media platforms, mainly for Instagram or Twitter, etc. So few of the libraries are Rasa, so which I said, which takes voice and text input. Next, InstaPy for Instagram. Then Bot Builder Python, which is developed by Microsoft. Twitter Bot, which is for the Twitter as well, and StreamCard for Discord. So this is the whole libraries that I have created. Now I would request Balaji to actually display his kit.
So I've created a kit. A chatbot is a computer program that simulates the human conversation, either the written or spoken, allowing humans to interact with digital devices as if they were communicating to the real person. So the proposed bot could easily identify the emotional status of the users and can provide suggestions using bidirectional recurrent neural network and TensorFlow library functions. So I've created this kit based on a paper that is intelligent chatbot model to enhance the emotion detection in the social media using bidirectional recurrent neural network. I found this paper very interesting. So this thing I have implemented in the kandi. So while coming, first thing is development environment. As you know, Jupyter Notebook, VS Code, and Spider are the most commonly used development environments. Whereas Jupyter Notebook is a web-based one, and rest all could be installed in our systems. Then coming to exploratory data analysis, Pandas and NumPy are the most useful library when it comes to perform scientific computation and data manipulation, which is a very important step in doing any kind of project in ML. Next comes the model development and sentimental analysis. Bag of visual words Python. It is a way of extracting the features from the text to use in modeling. This is one of such library which could be used. Next thing is that bidirectional recurrent network. It is a machine learning algorithm that is used to train the model. Since it has two layers which can go forward and backward. So the RNN and SHOP is one of such library which could be used for that. And then comes the sentimental analysis. Sentimental analysis is the classification of statement, whether it is a positive, negative, or a neutral, by giving them a sentimental score. For those kind of purposes, we can use sentiment classification using RNN and text block library. Then comes the GUI development. Basically, to deploy a chatbot, we need a user interface. So that we go for GUI development. That RUI and the material effects are RUI and NeoWide are the Rust-based libraries. Then Python, PyFDA is Python-based one, and Material Effects is Java-based one. These are web-based development libraries. Then comes for Android, we could use Ionic Framework or Architecture Samples or IOSet, which is developed by Google. These are very useful libraries for GUI development. For the viewers to access the kit, I would like to inform them they can visit our kits by the links provided in the description.
Great. Thank you so much, Balaji and Akshat. I think these are very useful and quite thorough kits that you've developed. For all of us, our participants watching today, if you'd like to access these kits or the one starter kits, just look for the description or also look for a follow up email that you will receive after this session is completed today. If you've registered with us, you should receive the follow up email. But if not, just complete the certification form, which will be active only after the session concludes in the next couple of minutes. And then everybody who's completed that form or who has registered with us should receive the follow up email with this kit, kits that our young developers have created, but also several other resources on Candy that you can take a look at and maybe utilize and develop further from. So Akshara Balaji, I know I'm not going to eat into your time. We have a few more minutes left, and I know you guys have worked with the Discord community members to curate some questions for Pooja today. You could also maybe take some questions from our YouTube chat, and yeah, and if you have any questions, let's go ahead with that right now.
Yeah, sure. So the first question that I would like to ask Pooja is, what will be the response if the question is not drafted in the training data? So what response would it give?
So the model won't just give any error or something like that. Basically, it will try to map it to the closest query that is available, closest question to which it can match. And based on that, the answer would be provided.
Quickly, I have another question. Can you please explain how the similarity engine works exactly?
Oh, absolutely. So basically, your cosine similarity that we have used is similar to Manhattan distance or Euclidean distance, where we talk about how close these two vectors are based on their closeness or similarity or the angle, cosine angle that draws between these two. We are able to say that, okay, for this certain vector, this is the same vector, and hence we can fetch the answer to it.
Uh, Pooja, I have another query. So,
Sure.
as you were uploading your own data set on Candy, so as new users of deploying our own VA, how do we
Mhm.
upload our new data set and how do we go with our own FAQs?
Sure. Maybe I can quickly demonstrate it that to you guys. So what you can do is we have our virtual agent kit here, or I would say this kit. Every one of you have it, right? You understand that this is a CSV file that I have input here. So you go into the folder, the kit folder. Once you have set this up, get into it, and you see there is a FAQs CSV file. Similarly, what you can do is you can create one of your own. So I have created one for experimental purpose previously. I'll just show it. Okay, yeah. So if you see, this is one which has what is deep learning, what is etc. I mean, you can have whatever questions you like, and accordingly you can also have the answers to it. So what you can simply do is, first you need to get this file into the uh, same folder that you are trying to display your kit for. So let me go back to the kit, and within the kit you just, whatever file you are creating, it should be a CSV file. So couple of things to note: it should be a CSV file, it should lie in the same folder. So I've just mapped this one from a previous kit that I already have installed. You can simply copy this, or whatever kit you create, just copy it into the kit installer folder here. So I've already pasted this. Now I'll go into the latest and let me check back the name. So it's ML FAQs. We'll just add ML here. We'll just restart and run all. I'll just restart and run all and see. Okay. So let us just check. It's still running. Okay. We'll have to again go back up. So you can see that when I'm using the same variable, this is my latest data set, just which I can just upload here and do the pre-processing and maybe ask it something like, tell me about deep learning. Something like that. So yeah, it's giving me some deep learning. Whatever answer I've obviously placed based on the query, it has mapped to. You can check. It's giving me this answer. I can ask something. I mean, that's how you can work this out.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Pooja.
So I hope that helped. Yeah.
Lovely. So thank you very much, Akshara and Balaji, for putting these kits together and for joining us today and representing the larger community of young developers. I know as young developers, it's difficult to create these complicated kits, and it's nice that you demonstrated by using simple concepts. And I know you've spent a lot of time and a lot of man hours to put these kits together. And for all our participants, the kits are available in case you'd like to use them and further develop over it. I think that's available for you to use. So thank you, Akshara and Balaji. We look forward to seeing many kits from you and your friends, and hopefully you can all bring your ideas and solutions to life much faster with these open source kits.
Thank you for having us today, Smita and Pooja. I would like to quote my best takeaway from this evening. So the best aspect of today's bootcamp is the detailed implementation of VA from scratch, though you uploaded a dataset newly to showcase how it works. So looking forward to work with Kandi and 𝗯𝗶𝗶𝗴 in the upcoming days. Thank you.
Thank you. I really
Glad.
enjoyed this session presenting my kits and looking forward to more sessions also and with more new kits.
Lovely. Thank you so much, both of you. And thank you, Pooja, as well, for curating this entire session and for walking us through the kit step by step, but more importantly, for covering the basics and the overview of NLP with us.
Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And for all of our viewers and bootcamp participants, we hope you enjoyed the session and you found the use case presented valuable. We will be conducting such bootcamps frequently and regularly. So if you'd like to stay updated on our program calendar, please do join our Discord community. You can find us by searching for 𝗶𝗶𝗃 on Discord. This community helps us connect with you. It helps us receive feedback from you and also understand the topics for future bootcamps based on what you'd like to hear more about or what's more relevant today. So please do join our community and connect with us and communicate with us. Also, you could join our social media channels to stay updated with more information and trends in the world of open source. With that, I'd like to end the session and say thank you to all of our participants and viewers and have a good evening. Bye-bye.